This week we'll start the Salem Community School Staff Spotlight with one of Salem's own 2005 grad and current Salem Middle School Social Studies teacher, Mr. Derik Early. Thank you for meeting with me today.
Thanks, Ben. Happy to be here, bud.
Yeah. Tell me a little about yourself.
Well, I feel like I'm probably pretty simple out of the gate. Not married, no kids, no siblings. Teach at the middle school. Went to Salem from kindergarten through senior year, graduated from here in 2005. From there, went to school, went to college, got my degree. As far as hobbies and things like that go, it's either working out or playing golf or hanging out with the other coaches here in the corporation. Other than that, pretty simple, pretty straightforward.
Where'd you go in college? Where'd you go?
I went to IUS in New Albany.
What you study in college?
Well, I started as a business major. I wanted to do sports marketing out of the gate. And then after getting an opportunity to coach, decided that I wanted to switch gears, change things up and go the education route. So I got my degree in secondary education with a focus in social studies.
Who was your favorite teacher and why?
I was pretty lucky in the sense I was able to have several influential but also very good teachers throughout my years here at school. But if I were to pick one and kind of narrow that list down, my favorite teacher would be Mr. Calhoun with physics.
Awesome. And speaking of people, who is one of your role models?
The role model conversation I think is interesting because I think that concept changes as you get older. I think when you're little, your role models tend to focus on being people who are celebrities and athletes and singers and things like that. So when I was little, role models were definitely people like Reggie Miller and Ken Griffey Jr.
Yeah.
They were my favorite athletes when I was little. But as you get older and you adapt and you grow and you mature, I think it kind of shifts to people that you kind of want to emulate. People who have attributes that you respect, you could look up to.
Yeah.
So when I think about that, when I think about as far as career, people like Deb Rye at the middle school, people like Mr. Wade Swift. And then personal standpoint, people I look up to would be people like Coach Whedon. And then my best friend even is somebody that I use as a really good example, as a role model, and somebody that I want to try and emulate and be like. So I think it's interesting how that dynamic changes as you get older.
Right. And we know that you're from Salem, so what's a glimpse of what brought you back to Salem to teach?
Well, to kind of piggyback off of the opportunity I had to have some really good teachers and people around me while I was here, there's a sort of sense of responsibility, but kind of an obligation I kind of felt like I had if I was going to be a teacher to come back and do that here and kind of pay things forward a little bit to the quote-unquote next generation.
Yeah. And what classes and grades do you teach?
I am in 7th grade geography right now, but I've kind of taught things all across the board. My first year I was in special education, and then I've taught 6th grade digital citizenship. I've done 8th grade PE all the way down 6th grade and 7th grade PE also. But this year I'm all 7th grade geography.
Yeah. And speaking of teaching, what is the worst and best things about teaching? We know there's some.
We can certainly have that conversation. The best things are the relationships you're able to build with your staff, your colleagues, and your students. The worst part is probably the grading, in all fairness. There's probably some people who would say other things, but for me, the worst part's having to go through the grading process of having 140 assignments to grade.
That's a lot.
Yeah.
And what are some traditions or superstitions you have on the first day of school? Or what is your routine to getting up for the first day of school?
To set as many alarms as humanly possible. I start there. And then I don't really have any quote unquote superstitions. Like I've told players in the past, I'm not superstitious, but I'm a little stitious. I don't necessarily have anything that I've set due on the first day other than make sure I get up on time.
Right.
And other than that, really just come in. I kind of do the same routine every year once we get into classes talking about rules and policies and stuff like that. And we have, the set papers you have to pass out. But as far as anything set that I make sure I do other than, setting 42 different alarms, that's about it.
And how do you keep things new, fresh in the classroom?
I try and just not to be too vanilla for lack of a better term, not coming in and just kind of sitting down and here's a paper, here's an assignment, read this, answer these questions, and turn it in.
Right.
Every day we do a current event topic. So we discuss something going on, whether it be in the United States, whether it be here in Salem, or whether it be somewhere around the world that we're studying. Try and make things a little bit fun in that regard, because it's not necessarily content
Right.
that we're talking about, but it's a current event that they can usually get into and at least generate some discussion. And then we have a quote of the day that we go through every day to try and hopefully maybe give a little bit of motivation or inspiration, something for them to think about. And then try and make things fun. Do a lot of projects and group work and things like that to keep everybody kind of invested and interested.
Yes. And what's something that people would be surprised to find out about you?
So I weighed this question for about probably 10 or 15 minutes yesterday as I'm thinking. And
Right.
for all of the fun that gets poked at me, you guys would be very surprised. I do actually train legs.
Do you? It's not just bench.
It is not a myth. No.
So, do you like schedule leg day? Do you like?
Absolutely, Finn. Absolutely. At least once a year.
Awesome. We don't hear much people do that. If money wasn't an issue, where would you vacation at?
If I could vacation anywhere, I would take as long of a trip as I could to Bora Bora. It's
That's
an island chain out there in the French Polynesian Islands in the Pacific Ocean, just in the southern hemisphere, and it is amazing.
awesome. And anything else would you like to add?
I don't think so, other than go Lions, and thanks for having me.
Of course. Again, thank you, Mr. Early, for sitting down with me and Lion Nation. I really enjoyed finding out more about you. This has been Finn Kreitzer with SLNN and The Salem Show.